This whole concept of suppression, particularly suppression due to religion, is humorous to me because what I have realized over the years is that there is only ever one way to win through suppression, and that is to kill every single other person in existence. So good luck with that. If you can only support creators who provide value and make you think, please consider contributing to my Patreon page the next time you watch one of my videos. Hello everybody and welcome. Today I wanted to talk about suppression. So I recently started watching The Handmaid's Tale because my stepsister told me that it reflected some of the concepts that we had been discussing on a particular day. And I was like, well, okay, that might be interesting. We'll see what that has to offer. Fair warning, only watch this show if you are comfortable feeling scared and depressed, because even though you might have built up some resistance to, like the emotional triggers of shows and whatnot, you still end up a vibrational match to them, and I am still dealing with some of the emotional fallout of that particular situation. So this particular show, it definitely has a focus around fear and suppression and trauma and pain and hurt and things like that. Definitely not an uplifting show by any stretch of the imagination. But it definitely does give you some interesting concepts to consider. And one of the things that it really got me thinking about was this concept of suppression. And that's really what the show is all about, is suppression, and how you have this one religious cult that is highly male-dominated, kind of running the rest of society through suppression tactics that usually involve pain triggers and emotional trauma and brainwashing, psychological damage, things like that. And the reason why they created this society is because they've been having a hard time in producing kids, I guess, is kind of how that went. So they're trying to control child production to ensure that those who are capable of having kids do have kids. So women with healthy ovaries or whatever could be kind of conscripted into this segment where they become essentially breeders. They're the women who carry the children, and that's essentially all they are. And it's quite humorous to me that this is the way they decided to do that, because honestly, when you're terrorizing a potential mother, you're actually limiting her capability to actually get pregnant and produce children. But putting that to the side, the idiocy of this very mechanism, this whole concept of suppression, particularly suppression due to religion, is humorous to me because what I have realized over the years is that there is only ever one way to win through suppression, and that is to kill every single other person in existence. So good luck with that. Suppression methods go against our very nature. The essence of life is expression. Literally everything we do is about expression. Our personalities, the way we talk, our interactions with other people, ideas, all these things demand to be expressed. And the second you try to suppress them or repress them, they push harder. Which is why in any situation where somebody has tried to control others through suppression, they end up with resistance. They end up with people who rebel and who cause an uproar and all these other things. And there are many examples in our society of suppression tactics. We've done this with sexism. We've done this with racism. We've done this with, gay, lesbian couples and their rights. All of these things are suppression tactics where people are saying, hey, don't talk, stay out of the way because you are displeasing to me. And it's humorous to me that we seem to think that this will work, because it is inevitable that if you suppress anything on any level, whether it's societal or individual, you are going to have to face it again, and on a much more intense, violent scale. So, if you go with the societal level, where in this show in particular you have men essentially suppressing the women, and then there's even a lower rung of women who are the breeding stock, and while they're told that they're vital and important, are treated like crap. That is like a societal level of suppression. And then on an individual level, when we are hurt or when we find some aspect of ourselves displeasing, we tend to try to push it down so it doesn't come out. You know, like if you think you're too loud or something, you'll try to push down that loud part of you, that loud aspect, and eventually it has to come out. You know, eventually you scream because you cannot suppress it anymore. That aspect of you demands to be recognized. Same with anger. A lot of people find anger to be an emotion that they really dislike. You know, they really don't want to feel, they really don't want to deal with, so they avoid their anger. You know, they feel angry and they push it down, but eventually it comes out and they explode and they go off on somebody that has no reason for having that kind of reaction taken out against them. But at that point, the energy of the anger becomes so intense that it has to be released. So that's where this whole concept really started making me kind of laugh, because I'm like, we keep trying to suppress people. We keep trying to shove people into boxes. We keep trying to say, hey, stay in your lane, you know, like, stop trying to be heard. Stop trying to be recognized. And it's always ridiculous because you actually end up with exactly the opposite result that you want. You want this thing to disappear from your perspective. You don't want to see it. You don't want to deal with it. And so instead, it comes back at you full force saying, hey, I don't care what you want, deal with it. Not exactly a great policy. So if you're finding aspects in other people that you dislike, usually that means that it is something within you that you dislike as well, and you recognize it in them, which is why it's so irritating to you that they are that way. And it is useless for you to try to suppress this aspect of yourself or to try to get them to stop being the way that they are, because ultimately it's going to come back and bite you in the ass. And that is where this whole concept really came down in the end. Is I'm like, this whole show is about suppression. It's all about women being controlled by men, and how when you're a breeder, you're stuck there, and, you know, about shifting their psychology and brainwashing them so that they remain sedated, or so that they remain under the influence of their commanders, as it were, in this particular show. But the entire length of the show, you have people resisting, you have people going against it, you have people in dissonance, you have people arguing, and even though these women who are the breeding stock are very controlled and very suppressed in their mechanisms, they still have forms of dissent that they express in their own behaviors. You know, like when they were asked to kill one of their own, which, you know, humorous to me that the suppressed people are the killers, so they are trying to find some way to express that residual tension built up inside them. But they refused to kill one of their own because, you know, this woman went essentially crazy because of the suppression that was put upon her, which is likely to happen given suppression. You either rebel or you break and then have to start all over again. But this woman broke. She went slightly crazy. And then all the other handmaids refused to kill her. You know, they dropped their stones, which was the mechanism that they were supposed to kill this woman with. And then, as a result, the guardians of this place take all of the breeder stock, put them on these little stands with nooses, and like put a noose around each one of their necks. And I'm like, if any of those women had thought at all about this situation, they would have realized there was no way in hell these guards were going to kill them, because it would be absolutely ridiculous to do so. These are the only women that can have children, which is essentially what their society is built around. So killing all of them would be the dumbest mistake you've ever made. In fact, killing one of them would be supremely stupid. So it was humorous to me. I mean, they're up on this stand with the nooses around their neck, and all these women are terrified, which, you know, of course, if you're about to die, you'd be terrified. But if you think about it, they had no reason to be terrified because there was no way in hell that most, if any of them, were going to die. Now, they did end up punishing them even further, you know, like burning their skin or cutting out their tongues or, you know, things like this. So, supreme suppression, torturous methods, and trying to suppress them even further and keep them under control. But you can tell through watching this show that the only reason why they're trying to control these women so much is because they're absolutely terrified of what happens if these women don't exist. So they're trying really, really hard to control these people, not recognizing that it is inevitable these women will break free or die. It is inevitable for them to go through this process. So if you ever find yourself in this situation, if we as a society ever find ourselves in this situation where we aren't producing enough kids and are worried about the survival of the human race, which from my perspective is a dumb thing to worry about in the first place, it is not going to help to force women who can have children to become slaves and victims of other people. That is the single worst method of actually achieving your goal. So, you know, it's humorous and strange, and this show is not particularly fun to watch. It's not particularly fun to feel through, but it does have some interesting concepts for you to look at. So if you're interested in watching that, you know, feel free. Definitely keep a close look on what's going on inside you. That's going to be really important. But otherwise, that's all I have to say today. So thanks for watching. I will talk to you again soon. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and if you have any questions, comments, thoughts about the Handmaid's Tale, or thoughts about Suppression, feel free to leave those in the comment section, and I will do my best to respond. Talk to you soon. Bye.